Okay, let's unpack this.
Hmm.
We have landed today on a passage from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7. It's verses 21 and then 24 through 27.
Right.
And, you know, normally when people see this text, it's presented as this beautiful, simple parable. The wise man, the foolish man, building their houses.
Sure. Almost like a
Un-
children's story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you really do a deep dive into the source material here, this is not a nursery rhyme.
Mm.
It is one of the most, brutally honest assessments of human behavior ever recorded.
It absolutely is. You have to remember this section is the intense final conclusion to the Sermon on the Mount. It's Jesus' longest, most famous discourse.
This is the big finale.
It's the ultimate mic drop. He's essentially saying, look, I've given you the roadmap, I've given you the ethical blueprint, now you ignore it at your peril.
Right.
Our mission today, I think, is to strip away that familiarity of the parable and really understand why action, not just, agreeing with something, is the non-negotiable foundation.
The foundation for surviving life's inevitable floods, as he puts it.
Yeah.
And we have some fascinating sources to back this up, moving way beyond just the religious side of it.
We do.
We're looking at what the linguistic context tells us about, say, performance versus real commitment.
And the geography. You have to understand the geography of first century Judea to get why the metaphor of rock versus sand was so terrifyingly real for the people hearing it.
And we're even connecting this whole idea to everything from, Stoic philosophy to modern corporate ethics?
It's universal. So let's start with that immediate challenge that Jesus throws down in the first verse, verse 21.
Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven.
But the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven.
That double repetition, Lord, Lord, that's where it gets really interesting for me. It feels almost desperate, like someone trying too hard to prove they're on the team.
Trying to prove their allegiance.
So is that double address? Is that significant in the original Greek or Aramaic?
Oh, it is. It's very significant.
Yeah.
And scholars point to a couple of interpretations, but they're both kind of related to performance.
Okay.
So in the Greek, the word for Lord is Kyrios, and the repetition Kyrie can signal profound respect, sure, but in this context, it's more likely a performative acknowledgement.
Performative.
It's a public declaration, but the very fact that you have to double down on it suggests the inner reality might be, lacking.
So it's like the difference between, shouting your allegiance on social media versus actually showing up and doing the hard work when no one is watching?
That's a perfect modern analogy. Exactly. We see this psychological phenomenon all the time. The text is confronting what we would now call virtue signaling.
Right.
This temptation to substitute these eloquent, pious statements for actual, concrete, daily actions. What Jesus wants isn't just acknowledgement, it's allegiance.
And an allegiance demonstrated through behavior.
That's the key. Doing the will of the Father.
And that emphasis on doing.
Mm-hmm.
That has to tie into the specific Greek word that's used later in verses 24 and 26.
It does.
When Jesus talks about the wise man who hears these words of mine and does them, what's the word there for does?
The word is poio.
Poio.
Yes, and that is a crucial distinction. Poio is a highly active word. It means to produce, to perform, to execute, to carry out.
So it's not a passive thing.
Not at all. It's not to agree with or to think about. It implies construction, completion, the physical result of labor.
And so conversely, the foolish man who does not do them is just defined by the absence of poia.
Exactly. He might have listened, he might have even memorized the sermon, but he failed to execute the blueprint. He didn't build anything.
And this is where the whole thing shifts from theology to, architecture.
Yeah, or engineering.
Because Jesus immediately goes into this incredibly vivid metaphor of the two foundations.
Yeah.
And we have to remember the context of where he was speaking.
Right. This wasn't a metaphor drawn from some region with stable, deep soil.
No.
If you look at the historical geography of ancient Judea, particularly around where the Sermon on the Mount was likely given, the landscape is defined by seasonal riverbeds. They're called wadis.
And for most of the year, they're just dry.
Completely dry. During the long summer months, a wadi looks like a perfectly flat, ideal place to build a house. It's wide open. It's easy to get to. That's the sand.
It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
It looks fast and easy. You don't have to dig. You just, pour a foundation right on top of that dry creek bed.
Precisely. But then the rainy season hits, And the heavy rains cause these massive flash floods.
Mhm.
The water just rushes down the valleys, and it turns that seemingly perfect building spot into a torrent that can sweep away everything in its path.
So the foolish man, the one who heard but didn't do, he built on what was just a temporary illusion of stability.
He did, whereas the wise man, to build on the rock, he had to do all this extensive, difficult, probably inconvenient labor first.
He had to dig.
He had to dig through all that surface soil, clear out the debris, and find the bedrock, the solid limestone that defines that region, before he could even lay a single stone for the walls.
It's such a great real-world example of delayed gratification.
It really is. The wise man spent valuable time, valuable resources just digging down, and for weeks, maybe months, his house didn't look any further along than the foolish man's.
But all that hidden, painstaking work was the only thing that mattered when the test finally came.
And the passage says it so plainly. The rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. It happens to both houses.
That's probably the biggest takeaway from the metaphor for you, the listener. Nobody gets a pass on the storms.
Mm-hmm.
Life is going to bring financial trouble or health crises or relationship problems or moral temptations. It's inevitable.
The only difference isn't whether the wind blows, it's the preparation you have hidden underneath the surface.
And this idea, this insistence that a life has to be built on demonstrable action, not just pleasant words, it's not exclusive to this text, is it?
Oh, not at all. When you connect this to the broader picture of ethical philosophy, you see this exact same wisdom recurring across so many different cultures.
Okay, like where?
Well, think about Stoicism. It was a school of philosophy that was really popular just a few generations after this text was written.
Right. Figures like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius.
Exactly. And they hammered home this idea that philosophy isn't some subject you study in a lecture hall. It's a way of life.
An active thing.
Very active. Epictetus, for instance, in his discourses, he was always criticizing people who could, quote, Plato perfectly, but then failed to live out any of the ethical demands. He basically said, don't talk about your principles, show me your principles in your daily routines.
That is the Stoic version of building on the rock.
It is. It's the consistent, small, sometimes uncomfortable choice to act virtuously.
Or you could look east,
Right.
to Confucius.
Absolutely. His Analects are filled with this tension. Confucius taught that the Junzi, or the superior person, is characterized by their deeds, not just their rhetoric. He said, the superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions.
It's the same pattern. And what's so fascinating is just how universal this critique of hypocrisy is.
It is.
Whether you're aiming for spiritual salvation or ethical resilience or even just professional success, the underlying structure demands the same thing: execution.
And the system fails when the stated values get too far away from the demonstrated values.
We see this play out in the modern world constantly, especially in, organizational leadership.
All the time.
We've all seen major corporations or political groups collapse, and it's not because they didn't have a good mission statement. That's the Lord up part.
Right. It's because their foundation was built on the sand of short-term gains or rationalizations or just superficial compliance.
Yeah, think of any recent high-profile corporate failure. They probably had a beautifully written set of core values about integrity and customer trust.
Nice-looking house on the sand.
Exactly. But underneath, the actual operating culture tolerated cutting corners or deception or prioritizing profit over the quality of the product.
So when the floods came, when a market downturn hit or a whistleblower came forward, the whole thing was exposed as having no genuine foundation.
And the fall was great, just like the text says.
It's a failure of integrity, where integrity literally means wholeness. The inside structure matches the outside appearance.
The wise builder, the person of integrity, they build the same way whether anyone is watching or not.
And that process of building on the rock, it's rarely glamorous. It's tedious, it's repetitive. It's that often unseen work of accountability and self-correction and choosing the hard path of ethical consistency over the easy path of convenience.
So if we bring this all back to the individual person listening, the rock material is really those small, consistent acts.
That's what it is.
It's not the one grand gesture of charity that saves your house. It's the daily, small choice to forgive a minor insult, or to stick to a commitment you made, or to prioritize your family over one more hour of unnecessary work.
Absolutely. The foolish person hears the sermon and says, oh, that's a nice theory. The wise person hears the sermon and immediately asks, okay, what specific tool do I need to pick up today to start digging?
It moves the entire decision from just intellectual agreement to actual behavioral execution,
Yes.
which I think raises a really important question for you, the listener, as you navigate your own professional and personal life. Where are you building on sand right now? Just because it's easier or faster?
That's the question. Is there an area, maybe it's in how you handle conflict or how you manage your health or even how you treat people who can't really do anything for your career,
Hmm.
where you're relying entirely on declarations instead of disciplined action? That's where the spiritual inventory has to start.
Because the sand doesn't feel like sand during the dry season.
Not at all. It feels comfortable. It feels convenient. And a lot of the time, the sand foundation looks just as good as the rock foundation.
Until the pressure hits.
Right. And the severity of the warning in this text is directly proportional to how certain the outcome is. The fall of that house is described as great.
This isn't a metaphor for just, like, a mild disappointment.
No, it's a total existential failure when that ultimate test arrives. The wisdom here is really a timeless instruction manual for structural resilience.
So we've established that the foundation has to be action. It has to be built on the rock of daily, conscious execution of your best principles.
Mm-hmm.
But here's maybe a final provocative thought for everyone to mull over. If the greatest danger is failing to act on what you hear, what if the most difficult act isn't the doing but the consistent hearing?
Ooh, that's a powerful point.
What if complacency sets in because we just stop listening critically to the blueprint in the first place? We just assume we already know the drill.
That's a huge risk. The man on the sand failed because he heard but didn't do. But if we stop listening carefully to the demands of integrity and compassion and truth,
Then we risk never even realizing we need to pick up the shovel at all.
that's good.
We invite you back tomorrow for our next deep dive into ancient wisdom and its modern applications. Until then, keep digging for that bedrock.